Idiot, if you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, oh no.
Silent intro. I love it.
Awful. Awful. That's terrible. Okay. Well, basically, welcome to the cast. This is the last cast of 2023. We're going to be talking on the cast tonight about all things anticipated in 2024. So yeah, look, I've butchered it, so let's just we're going out on a high note here. So I don't even know what happened. My mixer muted. Like I didn't even do it. I was talking to you 2 seconds ago. We were in the pre-lobby chatting away, so very strange. Anyway, is what
Yeah.
it is. Here we are. Nothing really new to talk about. So I thought, with it being the last cast of the year, let's talk about next year. I suppose is the
hmm
best thing to do. How are you before we kind of kick off? How are you getting on? How was your week?
Week's going all right. Doing on call this weekend. Luckily, everything that was going to happen already got remedied. So like, I think I should be fine right now. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, very good,
How about,
very good.
how about you? How's work been?
Yeah, it works okay. It's kind of because we're coming into like the kind of Christmas season and stuff like that. Like on-site stuff is kind of quieting up now. I was talking to a few people in the office on Friday, and they were kind of like, "Oh, today's my last day," sort of stuff. So I'm kind of like, "Oh God, what's next week going to be like?" Because I'm supposed to be there 3 days, so I'm thinking it's going to be starting to get a lot quieter. Like we're closing off a lot of cases that are, usually we kind of average around maybe 60, 70 active cases on our boards at any one time. It's kind of
hmm
down. It was like on Friday, it was down to like 45. So I'm thinking like this week, by the time kind of the 22nd comes around, which is when I'm finishing up, it's probably going to be down even further. It might be down in like the 20s or 30s. Like, so you kind of, you try and close off as much as you can kind of at the end of the year, but then at the same time, a lot of people are finishing up. So, if you're requiring end user like responses or support with stuff, a lot of stuff has to get parked until the new year. So I'm sure it's
Right.
similar for yourself.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Like, it's. I think we're just trying to clear up a lot of last minute stuff. So like, it's just it's very quiet. Anytime I ask a question, usually people aren't answering that much. We're going into moratorium on the 19th, which will be great because then I could. I'm planning to take time off from Christmas all the way to New Year's.
Oh yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah,
That sounds rare for someone over your side of the world as well. I know you guys don't usually get a lot of annual leave compared to the rest of the world, so that's cool that you're getting a good break.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's like,
I,
do you guys do like a change freeze around the holidays and stuff? So like, you won't push out any like big changes or anything.
yeah, that's what they call a moratorium. Is
Oh
that
yeah, okay.
there's no updates to developments. So then anything that's already been changed, that's it. You're
Yeah,
cementing it. No, like nothing of the sort unless it's like an emergency.
yeah, yeah. We're the same, which is great in a certain way, because it's like, someone comes in, it's like, oh, we need to like make some changes to some firewalls. It's like, talk to us in January.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we don't need you fucking up our stuff right now.
Exactly, exactly. Um, I have a couple of articles pulled up, which is, because again, I can't list off everything that's coming in 2024, but we can kind of, I could share them on the screen here, and we can kind of talk through what's coming next year. To be honest, next year is quite light, especially with Marvel. Marvel Studios themselves are only putting out Deadpool 3 on the
hmm
big screen. There's only one movie, which is crazy. And I think there's a couple of DC projects. Again, I haven't looked through these lists, so I might be surprised with a couple of things that are coming. And then I've got like a list for like the most anticipated movies of 2024, kind of outside of the main IPs that we look at, like Star Wars and so on. So, um, yeah, I'm interested to see what you think.
Yeah, that'd
Um,
be great. I have also got some stuff pulled up if we don't come across it.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So I think, the fact that we're called Marvelous, I think let's do the Marvel stuff first. Let me see here. Let me see. So for anybody who's watching us on YouTube or on Twitch or whatever, I'm about to pull up a list. We're going to talk about it anyway. So if you're listening to this, don't be worrying about it. We will talk. But basically, yeah, this one is from Movie Web. So they're kind of just going through all of the upcoming projects. Anybody who's here already, appreciate you. Welcome in, welcome in. So we got on the 3rd of January. I didn't realize this was actually so close, but on the 3rd of January is X-Men 97. Which, how are you feeling about that? Because I know
um,
you're a bigger anime head than I am, but what do you think? Are you like really hyped? Have you seen any of the previews or anything like that?
No, and the reason why is because I really am interested in this run because I've been missing like the animated series for anything Marvel related for a very long time. I know like the I don't know what the most recent is, but I know that like in terms of any sort of groupings, we had Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is now on Disney Plus, which is great because then you could check it out and just binge watch it. Which honestly, I think it's a good run. Like it's not everybody's cup of tea. I think it's not like the same kind of like charm as Spider-Man 99, or is it 99 or 98? Can't remember when it came
94.
out.
94.
94. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah,
I
it
was
is.
like 3 years old when it came out then.
Bro, I was Jesus, what age was I? I was like maybe 6 or something, but I remember I was watching it fairly like while it was like close to being new. Like I remember
Yeah.
watching it like as it was kind of not as it was airing, but like yeah, close enough.
Well, and the cool thing about those shows, like animated series and whatnot, like back in the 90s, is that they did this in the 80s as well in terms of like live action movies. Is they really wanted to let you know the feeling of everything that's going on during a
Yeah.
scene because they would play music all the time, which I thought was awesome. The only time they really kind of shut it down was maybe during like some interesting dialogue that's going on, maybe like a quick scene with them just kind of like, two people lounging around or having a little bit of dialogue. But with animated shows, like it's just like nearly constant, like music, which is great. That's why whenever we listen to or we see the intros for anything, or if we watch like stories or whatnot, we get that feeling like you hear the piano come in or the violins come in, and it's like, oh my god, like it's an intense moment.
Mhm.
It's almost like the laugh track for sitcoms, which I am like I absolutely hate laugh tracks for sitcoms,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it just seems to work for me in terms of like shows. Like I would prefer music over laugh tracks.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. Um, what's it called? I'm I've said this before on the podcast, and I know I got a bit of heat for it, but I'm actually wasn't a massive fan of the X-Men. Sorry, not to say that I wasn't a massive fan. I know there's greatness there in the original X-Men series, but I just didn't watch all of it. I'd never seen all of it. I dipped in and out, and the Spider-Man show was my bible. Like I really loved that show. So for
Mhm.
me, that was kind of the mecca. I would just rewatch that all the time, and then it was a couple of episodes here and there. If X-Men was on, I would watch it, but I wasn't religiously going to look for it. Now,
Right.
I kind of said to myself last year or like during the year that I was going to try and watch all of it because it's up on Disney Plus now, but I never got around to actually watching it. I watched like maybe the first half of the first season, but like
Mhm.
I think I've probably got the gist of it anyway. I think it's probably safe enough to just jump into the new episodes and see what they are.
Yeah,
I've
if you
seen
wanted to.
Yeah, like I think I can't remember where, but the first couple of episodes were previewed to some people at a screener, and I don't think they were very negative, but I don't think that they were incredibly positive either. So I think it's kind of middle ground. So I'm curious
It,
to see how they're actually received, especially
it's
by like hardcore fans.
right, and it's definitely a tough situation because like it's been so long, and unless you watch the entire series before starting this up as a writer, like I would think that you might not know what to put for these characters, and because even though it says 97, it's still 2023 right now. Like it's one of those moments where it's like, well, are you really going to have the same type of humor that they did in the 90s? And it's probably a big no,
Mm.
considering that there's a lot of things in the 90s that we probably don't want to resurface.
True,
It's but
true. Yeah,
so like
I didn't think about that. That actually kind of makes me a little sad. But anyway,
yeah,
go on.
but like maybe it'll have its own charm. That's what I'm hoping for. Is maybe they'll be able to resurface this feeling of like, oh my god, I can't wait to watch X-Men. Hopefully I'm hoping it's on like a weekly kind of service because the way I like it's the same thing with like The Simpsons. You watch it every week. You watch a new episode every
Yeah,
week. Um, I think what would be cool too is if like they did like, here's a new one, and then they give you like a suggestion for an older episode, kind of like when they would do The Simpsons at 7, and then at 7:30 they'd have a rerun of like one of the previous episodes.
yeah,
So then
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're like, okay, so if you like that, maybe you want to revisit one of the older episodes, and then they'll get more views from like that, and then maybe it'll just start creating like a train of like, oh man, I really liked, the old. It turns into The Simpsons basically. It's like, oh man, I really like the older episodes over this.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I was just looking up there on IMDb while you were talking just to see if I could see the release schedule, but it's actually not listed here. But what's interesting is they have X-Men 97 and it's split into two seasons. So they have seasons one
Oh,
and two, and then it says years. So it's like 2024 and then unknown. So it's like I think they do have plans to potentially go forward with it, which I suppose is interesting. And maybe they know something that we don't about how good the show is, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of take that as a good sign if they are potentially talking about season two already.
oh
But
yeah,
there's
for
only
sure.
there's only one episode listed on IMDb at the moment, so it's very hard to tell what the release schedule is. If anybody knows, let us know in the chat or whatever or in the comments. But I actually don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Oh yeah.
Moving on the list. Marvel. Here we go. Echo, January 10th. So a week after we get X-Men 97, we have Echo. And Echo, I know for a fact, is being released all at once. It's going to be 5 episodes long. They're going to be 5 episodes all in one week. And when it comes around to it on the podcast, we'll do like an Echo episode of the podcast, and we'll kind of break through the whole series. I would say most likely. Um, I'm not sure what day the 10th of January is. Let me just see if I can check that just out of curiosity. It's a Wednesday, yeah. So I'll have like because we record these on a Sunday. I'll have
Mhm.
plenty of time to watch those 5 episodes. I know I've heard that Daredevil himself is going to be in episode one, which is great. Kick it off, get people in, and then hope that people will hang around. I know there's going to be a lot of Kingpin in the show as well. So I'll watch the show just for those two. To be honest, I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are kind of shitting on this, saying like, oh, it was meant to be 7 episodes, and it was cut down to six, and then it was cut down to five. They obviously don't have much kind of enthusiasm on the show themselves if they keep cutting it down. I kind of see it as a good thing, to be honest, because I think if they're going to release it all at once, it's probably got a really good flow to it. And if they are kind of shaving it down, I think that they're shaving it down for the purpose of actually getting rid of like bullshit filler that we don't need or want. I think they're kind of starting to catch on what they need to do in these shows,
Mhm.
and again, we were kind of talking about it previously, but I've heard that they're looking at getting actual showrunners going forward. So all the new shows that are in development now, they're going to actually look to kind of copy the network television kind of release schedules and so on, and you know
Good.
cliffhangers and all this sort of stuff. And I think that's what they need. I think the way that they've done it so far hasn't really worked. It hasn't been terrible in some senses. I think when you rewatch some of the Disney Plus shows, if you like do a binge, I think they work a lot better. I watched Hawkeye last week. I did it in two sittings. I did like the first 4 episodes, four and a bit episodes in one sitting, and it flows really nice and it works really well. And then I sat down a second time and just watched like the show end, and I thought it worked really well. Like because if to take you back, like, do you remember like at the end of the fifth episode? I remember when we were reviewing this live on the cast, and it was just like everyone knew that Kingpin was coming. Like, it was leaked months before the show, and everyone knew it was
Mhm.
coming. So, like, we were like, oh my god, we're 5 episodes in. There's only six. We haven't seen Kingpin yet. What the fuck is going on? And then the end of the episode was just like a picture of him on a phone. Do you remember how pissed off we all were? Like, it
Oh
was
yeah.
so bad. I was like, fuck, oh, that pissed me off so much. But when you're watching it all as one, it doesn't really matter. You're kind of just like, it's the anticipation is building, and then like Hawkeye himself is just like, that's the guy I've been worried about this whole time. I was hoping he wasn't involved, and then it's like boom, it goes into the finale and it's Kingpin everywhere. You're just like, this is fucking great. So I think it's just the way that the shows have been presented to us so far. Like 35 minutes every Wednesday is just not enough. It's not enough, man. So I think
Oh
this
yeah.
could be I think this could be really good, because I think it's gonna give us like 5 hours of content that we can just watch at our own leisure. Like, and I think it's gonna be really good. Because again, I'll
Mhm.
probably do 3 episodes in one sitting and then do the other two in another sitting, and I'll have it done in 2 days. And hopefully it's good at the end. Maybe it won't be, but time
Right.
will tell.
So the way I see it, if they're trying to do a showrunner type show, like it's kind of it kind of makes me think like, well, are they going to do like a what's happening in this day kind of episodic for like live action, or are they just going to go with a formula in which case like it's leading up to something? Which I mean, like most like some a lot of the animated shows do have moments where like it leads up, it has a part one and part two, which I think is really nice. but that I think that's something that like I would say I'm missing. So like when they're doing this kind of show, I feel like when we were watching Daredevil, the whole series, it felt like each day, although it's leading up to like certain points, each day felt like it was different. It felt like
Yeah.
it was a different day. It felt like something else was going to happen. It felt like other people needed saving at some point, or things that were going on with Foggy and things were going on with Karen. So like it just felt fluid because like you had those moments of like, oh, what's going on over here? What's going on over there kind of situation. So like it felt great. And then you had like kind of the two-parter near the end where it's like, okay, well now we have the big fight, and then the next episode is like, well, the big fight plus one. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that would be a great kind of like scheme. But it is it is a live action show. It's really hard to do that, in my opinion, unless you're like doing big ass episodes like Daredevil did. And because they've scrunched it down to about 5 episodes, I'm assuming that they only really had a good amount of episodes to like squash it down to 5 and be like, all right, this is about as acceptable as we can make it. The other episodes really didn't mean anything, like you said, and so like I think it should kind of work well. I'm a little hopeful because I would like to see more of these characters kind of unfold, but at the same time, they the writers tend to put them in different areas where it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like they should go here or they should do this. But because they don't know what to do with these Marvel characters, it's kind of hard for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. And I'm really hoping that where we end up is going to be a much better place. But I think, and I heard, like, shout out to Den and Nerds, but I heard Josh talking about this during the week, and he mentioned he said a line in one of his live streams, and it scared me. He said, "I genuinely think," he goes, "We've had a bad 2023, but I really think 2024 could be even worse." And
Yeah,
that's a tough one to swallow,
it,
you know.
it's it does feel like we're kind of reaching a downfall, and I think it's because they tried so hard to pump out new content after like such hype after like from Endgame and Infinity War. They're like, well, we got to keep the momentum going. And to be honest, like I think they could have let the momentum die. It's like GTA 6. Like everyone's losing their fucking shit over GTA shit. 6
Yeah.
GTA
Yeah.
shit. um um but like, they'll have little bits and pieces here and there. Like they had Red Dead Redemption 2, which was fantastic. Like it took them a long time to make it. Of course you can't do that for like shows and movies and such because like it takes so long. But then again, like a lot of the movies that were fantastic took years to make.
Yeah.
So like it really depends. Like, do you want to make a fantastic movie that takes years to make, or do you want to make a decent movie that takes a couple years to make, or do you want to make a shit movie that's like going to make you money really quick? So
Yeah.
it really depends. It's like the Saw movies, dude. There's no reason to keep that series going, and yet they keep making Saw movies. It's just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
consistent fodder. Like there's nothing more from it. Like we had such good runs with the first few Saw movies, and then it's like I don't care anymore.
Yeah, Saw was an interesting one because, like, again, I loved the first one. Second one wasn't bad. Third one, it started to decline. Four, it got ridiculous.
But
Five, you're kind of like, why am I still watching? And then, like,
right.
by six, they kind of like did a clever thing where they looped it back into like a prequel to the first one. And you're like, oh shit, okay, it's all connected or whatever, And then you were kind of like, oh, it kind of dragged you back in a bit. Now, I'll be very honest, I don't think I saw 7, 8, 9, 10, but uh, I could potentially watch them at some point. I don't know. I just have no interest in watching them anymore. But there's like with the horror, there's just an automatic fan base all the time. So I can understand why there's, Friday the 13th number part 14 and all this shit. Like I can understand because it just has an automatic fan base that just they'll just always watch them. And that's why there's been like, again, like 7 Scream movies. Like the first 2
Right.
were good, the rest of them were just terrible. Like, but again, people will always go. So they know it's automatic money. So yeah, look,
Yeah.
I think Marvel's not there. It kind of is for me. I'll watch everything just because. And again, part of that is to do with this podcast. It's good to be able to sit down and actually see stuff that comes out, and we can talk about it for anyone who's interested in listening. But even if I wasn't doing the podcast, I still will be watching it all because I am just a massive like comic book nerd. So I do watch everything, but there's not a lot of people that are like me these days, especially now in 2023 when, a lot of the fan base has been let down, both in
Right.
Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. You know what I mean? A lot of people have just been like, yeah, fuck this. I'm just going to cancel my subscription and I'm not going to watch this crap anymore because it's just terrible. They're just churning it all out. But
Yeah.
people like me, it's like, yeah, let's keep going.
It
you
it's
know?
like it's like that fucking meme, dude, that you see all the time. It's like, I'm tired of this, Grandpa, and the MCU's like, that's too damn bad.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on from Outlook or from Echo. Sorry, Man and Web is coming out. So yeah, there's as I said at the start of this, there's not a lot Marvel wise coming out in 2024. There's only one big screen production, which is Deadpool 3, which I believe is like the most anticipated movie full stop of 2024, which is great that it's a Marvel movie. So that should be interesting. But Sony, I believe, have 3 projects coming out, and this is the first one, Madam Web, which is a spin-off of Spider-Man for anybody who doesn't know. It's going to be like a female-led movie about like female Spider-Man, Spider-Women in the multiverse, basically. And it's all set. It's made by Sony, and it's kind of the Sonyverse or whatever. So Sony don't have a great track record, in my opinion, when it comes to movies. I'm not a fan of Venom. Andrew's movies, while I like them, have gotten a lot of stick. Toby's third movie wasn't great, so it's like a lot of like regular fans don't have any sort of belief in Sony themselves to make live action comic book movies. So the fact that Sony have 3 movies coming out this year, it's kind of worrying because I don't think any of them are going to be great. Again, I'm going to watch them all, but I like the idea of this movie. I'm a big fan of the Spider-Verse, and Sony Animated are making incredible movies like the Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. It's they're some of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. And I think the third one will cement that trilogy as one of the best comic book trilogies ever. So that's obviously amazing, but the live action stuff is incredibly hard to swallow most of the time.
Yeah.
Venom 2 was awful, bro. Like, it was so bad. I didn't even really like Venom 1. I've seen it once, and I have no desire or need to go back and watch it again. I probably should, but I honestly have not seen that movie a second time. I watched it once in the cinema when it first came out, and I haven't bothered watching it again. And I can watch it for free on Netflix here, and I still have no desire to turn it on whatsoever.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, like the first Venom movie wasn't bad at all. Like, really, it was pretty decent. I think that's why like they wanted to push forward with Venom 2, but they didn't know what to do with Carnage, which I thought was so fucking weird because like it's so easy to do Carnage. All you got to do is cause mayhem, kill things,
Yeah.
like cause trouble, and then they kind of like took this moment of like, was it Shriek? Like they, like I know Shriek had an affinity for Carnage in terms of this. I can't even really explain this. It's just so fucking hard. Like it's so difficult just to kind of even think about it.
Mhm.
Why would you make them, like this love interest kind of situation and then have a reason to kill Cletus and then have Carnage like gone basically because Venom ate him, which that it's possible. Like that's a thing that can actually happen, like reabsorbing him into his body, which then makes him a bit stronger again. But like all in all, like the offspring are usually stronger
Mhm.
than the original, which is why like Carnage is so tough to beat.
Yeah.
But making this whole love interest situation and then having this like, oh, we're gonna get married kind of thing, and then like really kind of pushing aside the fact that like you have an alien in your body that can take over take over your whole conscience, make you do like the worst things. But like Cletus is there simply because he is a maniac, because he is clearly like insane and he just is driven by the means to kill. And so it works so well with Carnage because Carnage is a killer. Like Carnage wants to just simply cause carnage. Like it's
Mhm.
so easy. Just cause mayhem. Just start going ape shit in San Francisco, and then just like make Venom go like, oh, fuck, we got to beat him, and then they get taken down, and then it's like it's so easy to create that. But because they wanted to make some sort of love interest because for some fucking reason, it just ruined the whole situation. It made everything so weak, in my
Mm,
opinion. There was
yeah.
no like it just didn't feel comfortable. But and this is what I see with Madam Web is that there's no reason to have this movie whatsoever, to be completely fair. Like this is maybe like I think this is an alternate universe Madam Web that we see. It's not even supposed to be the original Madam Web. The original Madam Web had already like, had trouble with her legs, and then she had to use a seat that was specially designed, I think, by like her significant other or husband. I can't remember exactly. And then she meets Spider-Man, and all in all, like it's this whole situation of Spider-Man getting help from Madam Web every now and then because she has a lot of like insight, because she could see through like the webbings of like the web of life, and she
Mhm.
could see like the different spider totems and the different universes that occur. And so like she has like this foresight, and it's so fucking cool in that sense. Like you make this character basically like Oracle from Batman, and
Yeah.
that's all she is. So like when you do this and you don't even introduce the original Madam Web, it's like the fuck are you doing? It's like
Yeah.
you're introducing this character to try to be a badass when, like, to be completely fair, like most of us remember her as the lady that was in like her spider suit in a seat with the whole like, the architecture behind her, and it just looks really cool just to like, she knows Peter because she can sense him and whatnot. Like it's like one of those things of, it's fucking cool. It's really cool that way. But then they just start using characters that were meant for Spider-Man for Madam Web, and that's the point of this movie. Is that
Yeah.
like I can't remember the villain's name, but like that's Spider-Man's villain. Like
Yeah.
literally.
I don't know, bro. Like I think this movie could potentially be okay because I kind of they're basically borrowing the Terminator story where the villain of the movie is going to go back in time and try and kill like an infant Peter Parker or like a pregnant Mary Parker. And I kind of like that idea. And I think it'll be interesting to see like a young Uncle Ben. Like we're going to follow him, he's played by Adam Scott. And then obviously, a couple of the Spider women in the movie might be interesting. I don't know. They could all be terrible. Who knows? Um,
Hmm.
yeah, as Liam says in the chat there, it's like it's just Sydney Sweeney. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But I look, I think it could be okay. I don't know. Again, I'm gonna see it. I'll go in open minded. I don't care. Like I've seen a lot of people giving it shit already, like trying to downplay it because it's like an all female movie, all this bullshit. I'm like,
Oh, I don't
I
care
don't.
about that.
Yeah, I couldn't give a fuck. I just want to see that. I'm gonna watch the movie, and if it's cool, hopefully we get some kind of cool web swinging like scenes and stuff like that, and a good story. Happy days. I'll be happy with it. And with kind of the way that with the way that I think that the whole kind of Spider Verse thing is gonna go, is that the entire Spider-Verse and Sony Spider-Verse will become quite important in the larger multiverse of a live
Mhm.
action multiverse. So I think these movies actually could become relevant in the MCU later on, like after Secret Wars, for example. And I'm scared to say this, but I think that's what the plan is. I think that's part of the deal that was done with Marvel to allow them to use Spider-Man was that you're gonna take all of our characters into the MCU kind of after Secret Wars. So, Tom Hardy coming into the MCU, Cletus, fucking all of these characters, potentially a live action Miles Morales, which would be great, and so on. Crave and all this crap. We have to talk about all that as well. But yeah, like I don't know, bro. I'm excited in a way because Spider-Man's probably my favorite superhero of all time. So anything spider related, I'm gonna give it a chance.
Mhm.
I went in with very high expectations, very high hopes for Venom, and just it didn't work for me. It wasn't for me, but I'm gonna give this a go. I'll give it a chance. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, like
Uh,
I'm not saying I don't like I'm not going to give it a chance. I just like it's
Your hopes
still
aren't high.
they're not, because it's like, well, why? Like in my head it's like why? But, you know, we've seen Morbius, and I think Morbius was also kind of a why to me, but like it halfway through the first half of the movie I was like, not too bad, and then the second half of the movie just took a huge like
Yeah,
nosedive.
yeah, Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Jared Leto again. We spoke about all this in the past, but the first 30 minutes of that movie were quite good. I was
Yeah.
interested. I was, Jared Leto, while he hasn't performed very well on the big screen in a number of years, I know he's a talented actor. Like, I know he can
Oh
act,
yeah.
but he just has been fed nothing but shit for the last few years, and
I,
he's
I
kind of
think. Well, I
if
think
you think about it, he's kind of destroyed DC and Marvel. In like,
it,
the last two roles that he's taken have like really, really shat on the brands. Like, so, I just don't understand how he's working now. He really needs a redemption.
I don't know. I think that they're giving him roles that he probably like. It's like you said, they're giving him roles that he probably shouldn't take, but at the same time, they're giving him roles for movies that are like kind of B projects.
Yeah.
So like it's not really in the realm for him to really flourish, and because he's a method actor,
Mhm.
uh, like that's cool and all, but like he's a little too much of a method actor. Like there's moments where like he was struggling to use the bathroom because he was continuing to work as a method actor, like in Morbius, which probably annoyed the fuck out of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
In DC, like I remember that he gifted people like dead rats or something like that, and
Yeah. Yeah. He was like
it's like,
very deep in the Joker lore yeah.
but
But I
I'm
think, like,
like, it's
Heath Ledger did the same thing though, and
yeah.
it worked for him. So I think the whole method actor thing it can be intense, but I think, for a lot of people it's necessary, and for a lot of people it does seem to work. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a method actor. It's another thing to be annoying, though. Like in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
do remember when we were talking about Morbius and stuff, and I think Hoffman had put up like a thumbnail of him like walking on the crutches in one of our shorts like a while back, and it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just like, bro, just get off the crutches and go
Just
to the
get off the
bathroom,
crutch.
please. Like, come
Yeah,
on, dude.
seriously. It's
Yeah,
it's the same thing with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like when he did Django, like he really
yeah,
didn't want to do the role like that they were saying, and
yeah,
because it was a really hard situation for him because he had to be a racist character. He had to
yeah,
really like portray himself as a like kind of a slave master, and he's like, you know, uh, you remember that like famous like Jamie Foxx interview where he was talking about when he was talking to Leo, and
yeah,
Leo's like, I don't know if I could do this, man. I really don't like. I don't feel comfortable. And Jamie Foxx is like, dude, all I want you to do is go out there and just remember, like, I'm your slave. Like, are you a slave master? You're like, it's bad. Like, it was one of those moments. I was like, you got to be the bad guy. And
yeah,
then he said the next day he comes by and like Leo's giving him the cold shoulder and not even talking to him, like
yeah.
he's nothing. And I'm like, okay,
I
this is
saw an
why the
interview.
movie was so good.
I saw an interview with Samuel L. Jackson as well, and Leo on his first day, he was kind of saying like, man, I can't like say the N word. I can't like look
Yeah.
at you and say this.
It's
Like,
like-
he's like, this is just horrendous. And Samuel L. Jackson just looked at him. He goes, "Motherfucker, it's just a word. Let's go. Let's go. Like, start the cameras." Like,
exactly.
he's like, "Let's just fucking do this." Like, So yeah, it's
And then,
just what a movie, bro.
and then the other interview with the guy is like, "What word?" It's like I don't want to say on camera. And it's like, well, why not? It's like,
Yeah.
well, can we just
Have
talk
you ever
about it? And
said it
it's like,
before? He's
yeah,
like, you've said it with the cameras off, haven't you? No, that was hilarious.
well,
If you
like
haven't seen
it
that
was,
interview,
but it was funny because like he's just, it's like one of those moments of like, say the word, we'll do the interview. And he's like, no, I'm not going to
yeah.
say it. It's like, all right. It's like he's like, it would have been a great interview. It's like, I don't know, you can't say the word, we can't do it.
Poor guy probably would have lost his job. Oh, hilarious. Anyway, let's move on because we're live 34 minutes already and we're still on the first list. So there's actually, I didn't think we'd be breaking it down this much. Deadpool 3. If this is, again, the highest anticipated movie of 2024 in its entirety, whether it's comic book or not. I think this is the most anticipated movie officially on the list that have been compiled by like comicbook.com and so on. So, um, obviously, I as ridiculous as it sounds, I don't think we even need to talk about this much because we know that this is going to be a good movie. We know what's coming. We've been talking about it before. Um, Obviously, this is very high on everybody's list, but yeah, look, this is the only MCU movie coming out in 2024, which is crazy to think about because I think is this the first time since the MCU's come out? Probably, actually, I think it is. I think this is the first time since the MCU was created that there's only been one movie in a year because even if you
Mm,
think back to Iron Man in 2008, they released the Hulk in the same year, so they did technically have 2 movies that year. So
mhm.
even at the start, they had more movies than what they've got in 2024. Alarm bells
Right.
are obviously ringing in my head when I hear that because it's like, oh god, like they're going back to the drawing board with a lot of stuff. Obviously, I think that's going to be hopefully for the right reasons, and we'll get we'll get better movies because of it. I kind of respect them in a way that they've kind of pumped the brakes. Maybe they've waited a little too long to pump the brakes, but at least they've actually done it. So I'm hoping that the likes of like Thunderbolts and um, what else are we waiting on? Like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man 4,
Mhm.
all these movies, like, I'm hoping that we get better movies because of it. I think they've gone back to the drawing board completely with Blade, like a complete rewrite. Uh, the Daredevil show's being completely rewritten as well. And what else? Captain America 4, I believe, is getting hard rewrites and like reshoots and everything. So I'm praying that like a lot of this stuff it'll be better because of it. So
Well,
fingers crossed.
and then with Sean Levy is a person known for like Real Steel, Night at the Museum, and Stranger Things. So like, I think that it will be
And he's
good.
worked with Ryan a lot as well.
Yeah, he has. But like a lot of the times he's been a producer for a lot of different projects, and I really like Real Steel. It wasn't like the best movie, but it was fun. That means he was worked with Hugh Jackman before. He's done Free Guy, which is done work with Ryan Reynolds. Like he did Stranger Things. Like he did a couple episodes, I think, and
Yeah.
he did like the rated episodes were like they were like 8.7s, I think, which not bad for the ratings. And so I think like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm hoping that the direction that he goes with the movie is well received. There's a lot of moments where like I'm kind of concerned that maybe they're leaking a little too much, with a lot of people wanting to see so much with everything multiverse related.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard like when you really want to hide everything, and it's and then you just see the big red and yellow suits like standing next to each other in a spot somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
There's been a lot leaked, all right, and even Ryan and stuff have like started putting out fake stuff out of like themselves, kind of ripping the piss because too much has come out now, and they're kind of just poking fun at it. Did you see John Cena put up a picture? I threw it up on Discord
oh yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
It's like John Cena put it. It's just the regular picture that was released, and it's just him sharing it as if it's like I'm in this picture too. It's
yeah.
like him just poking fun at the whole "can't see me" thing, which is
Well,
which is hilarious.
and I like that because if a lot of actors decide that they want to poke around and like joke that like this is going to be in the movie, but it's actually not going to be in the movie, that really helps the show because then it's like, well, shit, okay, so then like these might actually be things and we don't even know. So like
Yeah,
it could be a spoiler, could not be. Like it's kind of cool. I like that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, Next on the list, Craven the Hunter. This is the second movie from Sony next year. There's a lot of bad kind of press around this movie because, like, from what I've heard, he's going to be like a animal rights activist in the movie, which sounds outrageous because he's literally Craven the Hunter. And like it's like he's going to be like trying to protect animals and stuff, where it's like he's literally a hunter in
It's,
comics and in animation and stuff. So they're like doing a complete 180. Now, on the back of that, what I've seen, like, from the trailers and stuff, it kinda looks okay. It kinda looks alright, like, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson has, like, got himself into some incredible shape. The movie looks very physical, like, it looks like there's gonna be a lot of action in it and stuff, and, that's kind of 40% of the reason why you go and watch these movies is to see some good fucking action, so
mhm.
I'm kind of thinking like, shit, this might be good. I don't know, but again, the story I think is going to be a bit ridiculous. I think they've changed his kind of origins and stuff a little bit from the comics and stuff. So I'm not a massive Craven fan, so I don't think I'll be getting upset with the fact if they change how he gets his powers and stuff like that. I don't really care. So I'm kind of just gonna. It'll be one where I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna switch off my brain and just go for it, just see how it lands. Same with like the Morbius movie and stuff like that, and like Venom 2. I'm just like, I'm not going in with high hopes, but let's see what happens. In this picture here, for anyone who might be listening to us, it says August 30th, but then it says release date October 6th. So they don't even know when it's coming out. So
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I don't know what the official date is, but look, it's coming out in 2024. We know that.
Right. So with Craven, I think that the direction that they're going with like this whole activist kind of situation, I think it's really dumb. Um, I think that the origin should be as concrete as possible because the best thing about a character is their origin story, which has been proven multiple times before.
Yeah.
When we see Spider-Man, a lot of the times, like when they've done reboots, they have Spider-Man, Batman. They kind of that's kind of their origin in the sense. When we see like the character come back as a different person, or like having this kind of the same setting, like we see Batman Begins, which I think is awesome. Awesome movie. I really
Love it.
like that movie.
Love it.
Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire, we see the origin there. The Amazing Spider-Man, we see the origin there. Um, then we see Spider-Man No Way Home, which is like the origin starts there,
Yeah.
in that sense, which is kind of interesting. I mean, it could be that like, we get to see something different later on, but like I do like the fact that they just kind of like they were like, okay, we're done with showing the original. Let's change it up this time. So I don't mind them changing it, but at the same time, I need it to be plausible.
Hmm.
So like him being like a animal rights activist is dumb, unless, which I'm assuming is that, well, if I like if I'm so much for animals, then I'm gonna hunt humans. So
Yeah.
then it's gonna be like, okay, well then he's just a human hunter. Um,
Yeah.
when Craven is actually like one of the cooler characters in my opinion because he actually wants to like fight Spider-Man barehanded. Like he
Yeah. Yeah.
like he's against guns and bows and knives and shit. Like he's a
Yeah.
barehanded hunter. Like he fucking goes for him. Um and like I think that's really cool. And so
Yeah.
like when we see all these like guns and whatnot, it's used by other characters, which I think is going to be fine. Well, like there's a reason why Spider-Man is so awesome is the fact that like a lot of the different villains have plausible intros that are like so important, so interesting. Like we have Rhino, who is like this Russian, like he's kind of like a dumb guy, but like he was given like these the serum and like some serum that made him like super strong, put on the suit. And so like now he just acts like a rhino all the time. And they have like it's fucking dumb, but it's really cool when you actually get to see him in action because he's like charging through like Juggernaut. You have Chameleon, you have Scorpion, you have Shocker, you have all these different characters that want to go after Spider-Man, and they all have cool backstories.
Hmm.
So like, I need the cool backstory, and if it's gonna be
Yeah.
lame, I'm out.
I know. I think it might be, bro. I think it might be lame. But again, we'll see. We'll have to see. And quick
Yeah.
shout out to the Spider-Man 2 game. Insomniac made an incredible Craven character. He was so good in that game. Like I loved it. He goes. You see when you're introduced to him, he's going through like the Amazon or whatever, and he's like trying to hunt people, and he's like bored, and he's not really getting a challenge. And then someone's like, "Why don't we go to New York?" And then like you see a list of people from New York, like Spider-Man, Miles. Um, he doesn't know about Venom yet, but Venom becomes his like prized hunt. Like he thinks it's Spider-Man, and then like he's Black Cat and so on. And there's all these like superpower humans, and then he's even going after some of the Sinister Six as well, and he's trying to capture them. So like he's going after Sandman, and he's going after uh Martin Lee and all these people, like, so it's like it's really cool, like, like because again, you're trying to fight the Sinister Six in the game, while at the same time Craven's trying to hunt them too. So you're kind of like, it's just hitting it from all angles. And I thought Insomniac really kind of understood the assignment, and they did it really well. So I think there's going to be a video game version of Craven that is going to be better than the movie version, to be honest. So yeah, if you haven't played that game, play it. It's great. Number 4 on this list. I don't know if they're doing this. I think this list is just in timeline order. I don't think it's in. They're not ranking it. But Agatha, Darkhold Diaries, is that the actual name of the show?
I don't
I don't
know,
know.
dude. Like it's just like it's so weird that they want to change the namesake. Like, are we gonna have the Darkhold? Are we gonna have a Coven? Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, well, like if this is set after the events of the Multiverse of Madness, there is no Darkhold, right? Because Wanda destroyed them all. So I don't know. Now, I think this is a prequel though, as far as I know. So I don't know. Again, I'm gonna watch it. Am I gonna love it? Probably not, but I'll watch it just to see kind of what's going on. I don't have very high hopes for this. I think this is kind of from the time in Marvel when Disney Plus didn't really know what to do with regards to making shows and stuff. So I think this could be like some of the last kind of bits of shit that are trickling out of Disney that before they kind of try and make some big changes. But I don't really see a purpose in the show. I haven't really heard much about this show, so there's not a lot I can talk about. Really, to be honest, I think this one we're kind of just going to have to
Well,
go in blind, and hopefully we enjoy it. Hopefully we have
it's
some good points to talk about in the cast. That's all I can hope for with some of these shows.
right. Again, this is another character where it's like, why? Why now?
Yeah,
Why do you need
yeah,
this character right now? Like,
yeah,
I don't care about this character's backstory, to be completely honest. I don't care what she's going to do next. All I care about is whether or not she's going to show up like in accordance to, different storylines.
yeah,
That's all I really need. Like, I don't need to know about this character like to a T. So
yeah,
I think this is really gonna, like, to me, if we ended up passing on it, I'd be completely happy with that. But I know that because we want to have the content, we have to watch it. So like, like, I love Catherine Hahn. I think she's a great actress. But it's like one of those things where it's like, you guys are just trying to milk everything now, and we can like, this is a blatant example of milking the fucking cow.
yeah, yeah. Um, Cajun in the community, like always, like again, we all kind of talk on Discord
Mhm.
all week around, and I'll always be kind of throwing in little stories from Marvel and so on, and like he'll always just kind of come back with like straight away like C list character, D list character, and it's like it's true. It in this case, 100%, it's true. Like like I don't think we need a solo show. Catherine Hahn is a great actress, but and she probably does deserve to be a leading actress in a show, but I don't think it needs to be this on Disney Plus. Now, me personally, I think at the end of WandaVision, I think her kind of story, I kind of got enough. I didn't need to see more, but maybe they have a good idea for a prequel show, and we'll see how she gets to the Darkhold and so on. And it could be interesting. Again, like could be one of those. It could be a little sleeper of a show. Like this could actually be brilliant. Like you wouldn't know. I suppose again, time will tell. I'm always happy to have stuff to talk about on the podcast as well. There's days where there's times we go live and there's not really a lot to talk about. Like last week, like last week's episode it was a great chat, but there's not a lot pulling people to that content because we didn't really have a lot to talk about. So,
Mhm.
and I feel like this week is probably going to be the same thing. Now, again, this podcast, it might have a bit of like evergreen like kind of content for a couple of months because we're talking about like all of next year, but who knows, like and I don't think yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be much kind of pull
S
for Agatha content either next year. So
Right.
we'll
I
have to
I
see
mean,
how it goes.
well, she's a supporting character. Like, the only thing that we know
Exactly.
about her in terms of the MCU is that she was a villain.
Yeah.
But it's like the weirdest fucking thing because in the comics she's not a villain.
Yeah.
She's a mentor to Scarlet Witch, and she's also associated with the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So like, it's this is a
Yeah.
really hard left that they're going with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's not really much to say. So like, we can move on from there.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, yes. Let's move on. Um, I don't know. This is their I don't know. The picture's kind of confusing. Like the pictures and like this makes no
They're
sense. But
they're
they're
probably
talking about
just
the
like
animated
throwing
series.
something.
No, they're talking about like freshman year was the Spider-Man animated series that's
Mhm.
supposed to be coming out like along the lines of like X-Men 97 and stuff. But I think they've actually just recently changed the name of that show. I think it's just going to be called Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is going to be the name of the show. So it's not going to be freshman year. But again, it's an animated show based around a young Peter Parker as he transitions from, I believe, high school into college. So it's around the time of No Way Home, which is probably why they're putting the No Way Home thing on this list here, because I think it's going to be around that time. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually it's not the 616; it's a different universe because there's going to be like different heroes, different villains, all that sort of stuff. So it's completely irrelevant towards the MCU.
Well,
So it's just going to be a standalone project, which
well,
is interesting. I'm
right.
down. I'm down.
And the thing is that I told you about this last time, is that they needed to have different namesakes for the different Spider-Man. So, we have the Spider-Man, we have the Amazing Spider-Man, we probably have the Spectacular Spider-Man, and this is the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So like that makes it easier for them to show like which spider totems are available.
Yeah, yeah, and like Tom's character is always kind of referred to himself as he just wants to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Venom 2, or sorry, Venom 3 is November of 2024. I again, with kind of where we are with the first two movies, I'll see it, but I don't have any high hopes for it. Um, I don't know if this is true. I don't think some of this stuff is not true at all. Andy Serkis directed the second movie. I thought he did a terrible fucking job of this film. It was awful. I think we kind of joked about it at the time. It was like, Andy Serkis should just stick to acting because I don't think he's much of a director. I don't know if he's directed anything since, but if this was his first um, director's job, he didn't do a great job of it, in my opinion. And sorry if you're listening to us, Andy, but yeah, bro, stick to acting. But honestly, though, like, the third movie, I've heard rumors of Andrew being in it, which I think would be great. I've been kind of saying this the whole time. If you're going to give Andrew more screen time, let him be the Spider-Man of the Venomverse. I think that would be a great idea. Kind of the other two Spider-Man that we've met already in live action have both had their interactions with the symbiote and with aliens and all this sort of crap. So I'm
Mhm.
just like, let Andrew have his time, you know what I mean? And give us the Amazing Spider-Man 3 / Venom. I think it would really bolster up both of these like movie brands, because Sony's live action Spider-Man haven't been great in a long time. Probably the last really, really great one was Toby 2, like, is one of the best comic book movies ever made. So, it hasn't really, Sony haven't really shined in the live action since then. So I think, and like, I'm not talking about myself personally, I'm just talking about like in the general consensus, because I really liked Andrew as Spider-Man, and I liked the movies. They weren't as good, obviously, as the Toby movies, but there's a lot of gold in there too. So yeah, like I'm again, I don't really have much to say. I haven't really heard much about the movie, and I've heard those rumors of Andrew showing up and being the Spider-Man of that universe, which I think would be
Mhm.
great. And the last one on this list is Marvel Zombies. I've heard nothing about this. It's another animated TV show. Kind of, I presume it's going to spawn off in that world that we kind of were introduced to in that one episode of What If in the first season. Maybe it'll be that world kind of expanded or something. I don't know. I know nothing about it. Have you heard anything about this show? No.
No, and like to be honest, man, like they don't really have much to work with because of the fact that they've really downscaled the idea of Marvel Zombies to like nothing
Yeah.
essentially. Like there's no way to get around things anymore. Like there's no gruesomeness to it either. There's like it's very bare bones to be honest, and it's like I don't know what they're going to try to do with it, but I don't think it's going to work out the way they wanted to because they're so. I guarantee you, a lot of the people there in the MCU, like the writers board, the directors, they're all interested in The Walking Dead, and therefore
Mhm.
they want to capture the same like essence as The Walking Dead, which I think is a very bad way to go through it because even though a lot of people really like The Walking Dead, I really didn't like it. So I don't know how like certain fans will take it. I mean, maybe the population will be okay with a standard Marvel, like a standard zombies show, because you could call it zombies and it'd be
Yeah.
just fine.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Again, this is very much like the horror genre, where there's a built-in fan base for zombies already. And I think that,
mhm,
and this is evidence, like, The Walking Dead went for like 11 seasons. It should have ended at like 6. Again, I think we spoke about this last week. It's like, how is there 11 seasons of that show? And there's like 3 spin-off shows for that show as well. Like, so I think they're just trying to jump on that bandwagon, as you're saying. And I think there will be kind of like an automatic kind of fan base that will just like thrive towards it, and
mhm.
that's fine. I'm not really, I don't really care. I'm not really very excited about it. I'm not counting down the days till it airs. I didn't even know it was coming next year. If I had heard that it was coming in 2026, I would have been like, yeah, cool, whatever. So I don't know, bro.
Right.
I don't know.
It's just tough because it's like it's so cool in the comics for Marvel
Yeah.
Zombies. It's so fucking cool. And then they just kind of like again, they take it and they go, let's remove their ability to talk. Let's make them like just brain dead zombies that can still use their superpowers, which is fun, but
Mhm.
like it doesn't like give the same essence as it would be in terms of like the comic series where things are just so chaotic, and it's like it's so fucking cool because like it starts with the Sentry getting infected with the hunger, and then he starts infecting the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. um Everybody just starts getting screwed up, and there's very few people that are unaffected, or they haven't been bitten yet, or it's one of those cool moments of like I love this. Like they're able to talk. They're still able to still communicate with each other, and yet they're still like filled with that hunger, which
Yeah.
I think is really interesting. And that's what separates it from any of the normal shows like The Walking Dead or Night of the Living Dead or such, is to give them the ability to speak.
Yeah.
So unique. And I
Yeah.
think that they should go back to the drawing board on that.
And like well, like the what if episode. So if they do go down the route of actually expanding on the episode that we saw, I don't think anyone spoke in that episode. It was kind of just very much kind of Walking Dead, kind of zombie like.
Yeah,
So
they even had the look of like the walkers.
mm,
If you saw it,
yeah,
like they
yeah,
really
yeah,
looked like walkers, which really
yeah,
bugged me.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like it could be just like a animated superhero version of The Walking Dead, or they could be going down a road of like something that you're talking about. I pray you're right, but time will tell, I suppose.
Right.
Um, next list. Do you want to talk about DC or do you want to talk about Star Wars? I'll let you choose.
Oh, let's go DC.
DC. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So DC next year, I don't think they have an awful lot coming out. Um. Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but Joker One is like an incredible fucking movie. Incredible movie. Now, Joker 2 is coming out, and I've heard it's like a musical, and it's, Lady Gaga's playing Harley Quinn, which I think could be fucking epic or it could be terrible. I don't think there's a middle ground here. I think she's going to be either amazing or terrible. I really don't know. Like, I love Joaquin Phoenix. Todd Phillips is a great director as well. So I'm really hoping that the movie's good, and I hope that there's not a lot of kind of musical shit in it. I
Mhm.
can understand like when they hire Lady Gaga to be in the movie, I'm thinking, oh shit, this might be like a full blown musical. But I kind of hope it's more kind of aimed like the first one, but maybe they're just both in Arkham and they're both mad, and maybe just a few of the scenes will be like musicals because they're both just insane. But I don't know. Time will tell. I'm definitely going to see this movie. I think it definitely has a likelihood to be really really good. But I don't know. I don't know what to think. What about you? Like, have you heard anything about this movie or?
Not entirely. Just said Lady
Yeah.
Gaga is going to be part of it as Harley Quinn, which I think is a really good idea, considering that they're going to possibly make this like a musical. I think that they should go full force and just keep it as like 100% a musical, like just nonstop musical moments, having different numbers, different things going on, because the way I see it, when you have these two characters, it should feel like it's just so chaotic that
Mm,
it's almost funny. To the point where like musicals can be very funny. They could be very serious. They could be very like you know dramatic at times. But like I think that this will fit well because these are two crazy characters who live in their own heads basically. And so
mhm,
to hear these as musicals, I would love to see it similar to what we saw in the Suicide Squad, where Harley Quinn is like going around thinking that she's in a field of flowers and like talking to animals, and there's all these kind of things going on. And when
yeah,
she shoots people, they explode into flowers and whatnot. And so like it's that moment of like no like realizing like this character does not really exist in the same like wavelength as everyone else. Like she's
yeah,
completely batshit, and it's apparent. So like I really think that it should be full on musical, maybe a couple lines of dialogue here and there, but I think the lines of dialogue should be between any of the guards, any of the police, anybody that's going to try to stop them. um, and kind of show like the dual perspective where, let's say Joker and Harley Quinn are in the same room and they're having this musical and they're basically sing talking to each other
mhm,
about like escaping, or maybe talking about how like they're going to break everybody out and start a riot or start some chaos. And then you see the guards come in. It's like, what the heck are they doing? Like they're just talking normally. Like, what the heck are they doing? Like, holy shit, somebody stop them! Like, kind of that kind of situation and then
Yeah.
they start dancing towards them, and then just fucking murder them. And it's like it's so
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what's gonna happen because they're in their world, and like outside everybody's normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like it's got to be that chaos feeling, which I think is going to fit really well. I think Lady Gaga with her voice, it's going to be very fantastic. Like she has an amazing singing voice. I heard that like what movie was it called that she was in where she was with Bradley Cooper? Um, can't remember.
Was it called Sing or something? Or no, I know the one you're
No,
talking about where he's the musician and he's like a drug addict and stuff. And
right?
I can't think of the name of the movie. I know the movie you're talking about. I haven't seen it, but my girlfriend watched it not too long ago, and a lot of high praise for it. So she
Yeah,
said it was fantastic, and she wouldn't usually be into movies like that at all. So that'll really tell you how good that movie was, because
right.
she wouldn't usually praise something like that. And like again, I know for a fact if this is a musical, it's not really my cup of tea. But if it's done very very well, I'll enjoy it. But and she'll be in the same boat as me. Like we'll kind of be going to the cinema to see this, and it'll just be like, oh Jesus, is this thing like an actual full blown musical? And if it is, if it's done as you're saying, I think yeah, it could be funny, it could be chaotic, it could be gruesome, and it could be great.
Yeah.
But it really depends how it's all thrown together and how it's executed. Because if it is just a like a musical, like it's not going to be for me. But if it's good, it's good.
Hmm. I
If
agree.
it's good, it's good. So DC again are very much they're the kings of animated movies, in my opinion. Justice League, Crisis on Infinite Earths is a great storyline in the comics, and the Arrowverse did it as well, and I thought it was done quite well. Um, so basically, yeah, it's like they have to fight different alternate versions of themselves who are evil and so on, and it's pretty cool. I think it'll be standard kind of DC stuff. I don't really want to go too deep on it
Why
because
not?
I'm seeing something here. Watchmen 2024. I didn't even know this existed. It's like an animated Watchmen movie. I'm a big Watchmen fan. I think that could be good. I haven't even heard about it. There was a Rorschach comic book that I'm kind of reading through at the moment as well, which is really cool. And they even like kind of wrote him into DC Comics as well. They did like a crossover event with Watchmen, and Rorschach came into it and stuff, and like Batman and the Flash found the button, the smiley face button and stuff,
Hmm.
and then it linked in with Flashpoint and stuff. It was fucking wild, bro. But like, man, I hate that DC just can't seem to get their shit together on the big screen, because like comics and animated wise, they are absolute kings of the industry. Like it's incredible.
Hmm.
And it just really hurts me that they just can't seem to get their shit together in the live action. But 2025 might be their year. James Gunn's taken over now, and he's doing his Superman Legacy movie in 2025. It could be a fresh beginning for DC. We won't know until we see it, but yeah, I don't know. Did you like Watchmen, the movie?
Never
And did you
watched it.
watch? Oh wow, you should watch it. It's really good. And there's a HBO series that was brought out in 2019, as it states here as well. It's like it's a sequel to Snyder's movie.
Hmm.
And it's fucking incredible. The first couple of episodes, I think it was like 9 episodes total, and then they canceled the show, which was shocking to me as well. But there's like, I think from episode 4 to the end is just mind blowing TV, like incredible stuff. There's an episode they call like a god walks into a bar or something. I think it's like episode 6 or maybe 5 or 6, and it's one of the best episodes of TV like I've ever seen. Like I remember like my jaw was on the floor after watching it. Like, and my missus is a big Watchmen fan. Like she has the graphic novel and everything, and like she loves it, loves the movie. And we watched that show, and it was just like, holy shit, like this is incredible. A little bit of a slow start, but if you give it time, wow, it's incredible. So yeah, highly
Hmm.
recommend that to anybody listening to us. Um, that's really it for DC, to be honest. DC don't have much going on. If you've been following DC, you know that James Gunn took over. He's kind of like wiping out all of Snyder's universe, and they're kind of they're in the middle of a reboot right now. Aquaman, I think, is out actually in the next like week or in the next few days. The second Aquaman movie, and I might go and see it. I honestly, I think I'll go and see it just so I don't break my streak of seeing every comic book movie in the cinema. But I have no expectations for this film whatsoever. it blows my mind that the first one crossed 1 billion. Like, I thought that was lunacy, if I'm being honest. Like the fact that, because the first movie was pretty shit, if I'm being honest. I liked Black Manta was cool in it, and the fact that like Tamara Morrison plays Aquaman's father in it, I'm like, cool. That's points for me being a big Star Wars nerd. I'm like, hey, it's Boba Fett, like but uh, the movie wasn't great. Nicole Kidman plays his mother in it, and like she has a badass scene at the very start of the movie. But like other than that, like what really happened? You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
like what really happened. And in the second one, it looks like Manta gets like an evil trident or some shit. Like it's like a dark trident that gives him powers or something. Like it sounds very kind of generic comic book. And I know we're a comic book podcast and we love comic books, but even for me, it just sounds like it's a reach. Like I think to be honest, they probably should have. I know they DC canceled Batgirl. They probably should have canceled the Flash, and they should have canceled this. They probably should have just taken the losses, to be honest, and just
Well, they did. They went out with the Flash, and the Flash was regarded as one of the worst movies. They still
I
took the
know.
loss, but they had to release it. They had to get some of their money back.
Well, they didn't. They lost money on it. If they had not released the money, they could have actually saved some money because they wouldn't have bothered with the whole press tour, and all the marketing and everything. So to be honest, if they had canceled that movie, they would have lost less money. They lost more
Mm,
money by releasing it.
it's going to make its money back in the DVDs and
I don't. I
Blu-rays.
don't. I don't even think so, bro. I don't even think anybody's buying that
It
digitally.
it takes
It's
time, dude.
so bad.
All
It's
all
so
the
bad.
movies all the movies that you've seen that have bombed have eventually made their money back in DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah, I
It just
don't have
takes it
any
like
hope for
that's
that.
but that's why they release flops because they know it's going to be a flop,
Yeah,
but they know that eventually it's going to make its money back. It just takes a long fucking time. It's
yeah,
it's it's great when they can make all the money back in one shot, but that's not going to be the case. Like that's why they have to release it because if they just let it sit in the vault, all it's doing is collecting dust, not even trying to make any money for any of the funds that they used, and like eventually it's going to come back. So like that's all I'm saying is like as
yeah.
shit
It's
as
gonna
it
be
was,
it's
it's
gonna be
gonna
a long time, bro. I think that movie. I think they were like negative 400 million on that movie, so
right.
it's gonna be a long time. I don't think they'll ever make money back on that one. To be
Oh, they
honest,
will. They 100% will.
I like your optimism.
100%.
I like your optimism. Clip it, chat.
It's
I don't
it's
think
the
it's gonna happen.
it's the stupidest fucking movie that I've ever watched, but I know that there's some people in this world who thought it was okay. And
Yeah,
I don't agree with them, but like those are the people that who said that it's okay that it's that's going to make the money back.
yeah. We'll see. I'm gonna continuously check up on this over the next couple of years, and I'll drop you a DM if they actually ever make the money back, which I don't think they will, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Episode 500 of the podcast. They finally made some money. Imagine. Let's talk Star Wars. Star Wars 2024. We're starting off with a headline that reads: "There are no Star Wars movies expected to release in 2024." So not a good start on the big
Oh
screen,
boy.
anyway. Because like Star Wars is about the big screen. Like it's an experience going to see these movies on the big screen and having something to be excited about. I don't really use Facebook an awful lot anymore, but I log in like maybe once a day just to kind of see some things. And like one of the things that I like about Facebook is they show you like again it was like the main app like years and years ago. So like I have loads of cool memories that pop up on it, and if it's not for the memories or like the reminders for some people's birthdays, I wouldn't log into the app at all. But I was logging into it there yesterday or on the 15th, and I think it was 8 years since episode 7 came out. And the fucking vibes, I think it actually came out today, but it was like there was a couple of days before for like the build up and stuff. But
Mhm.
like the vibes, I'll never forget the vibes of like episode 7 coming out when it was like, we'd only seen like a fire trailer. So it was like, expectations were so high. And like even like in Dublin, um, we have like a monument called the Spire in like it's the actual like center of the city. And it's like it looks like a big like pin drop, but it's like this giant pole that like it's called the Spire. Look it up. But basically, it's just like a big giant pin that sits at the direct center of the city, and basically Disney did a thing where like they lit up the whole poles to look like there was a big like giant lightsaber sticking out of like the center of Dublin. Like, you know, I was walking down the main street of Dublin and you could just see like a big giant lightsaber sticking up in the air. Like, it was like, wow, like Star Wars has actually done that. Like, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be incredible. Then obviously, you know, history was written and the movie wasn't that great. It was okay. I think people were still on a high after 7, but then 8 and 9 came out and it was, you know, whatever. But it's just sad not having like a movie to look forward to, because like I know there was a while where like it's like every couple of Christmases, like, you know, you've a new Star Wars movie coming out and it's something to look forward to. And like when they started doing a couple of the spin-offs, like Rogue One was great, Solo was okay. It just came out after episode 8, so everyone bombed it, but I don't think it deserved to be as bombed as it got. It wasn't that bad.
Mhm.
And then obviously, you know, then we went into The Mandalorian and stuff like that, and that obviously for the first 2 seasons was incredible. So it's a rough time to be a Star Wars fan. And the fact that we have no movie coming out, and there wasn't a movie in 2023. Was there a movie in 2022? No. 2021? No. Like, there hasn't been a Star Wars movie on the big screen. I'm trying to think right now. I think was Solo the last movie that was on the big screen, or Episode 9? Sorry, Episode 9 is the last like Star Wars movie that was on the big screen, and I think that came out in like what, 2019, 2020.
Uh, I can't remember, to be honest.
I honestly can't remember, and that's how important that movie was to me. I think it was 19, maybe. I can't even remember. But anyway, look, it's been years, and there's been no big screen movies. Now we've heard news that they're going to be turning The Mandalorian season 4 into a movie, and it's going to get released on the big screen. And then we've got Dave Filoni's movie, and we've got Ray's movie coming out. Again, these probably won't all happen for a couple of years, but let's see what they have in store for this year. So, or sorry, for 2024, should I say? I know talking about the Ray movie here. Probably not going to come out until like 26 or something like that. Skeleton Crew is one that I don't know if it's going to be good or not. I haven't really heard a massive amount about it. Again, I'm going to watch all these shows, but expectations aren't very high. I love Clive
Mhm.
Owen. Or sorry, that's not Clive Owen. What's his name? Jude Law. Sorry, he actually looks like a younger Clive Owen. Clive Owen's gotten very old. I don't know why I even thought of him there.
I do not recognize Clive Owen and Jude Law.
I think if you look up older pictures of Clive Owen, I think he kind of looks like him. But I don't know why I had Clive Owen in my head there. He was a cool actor, man. I don't think he's done anything in a long time. But anyway, yeah, Jude Law is in this. It's like, I think Dave and John have some shit to do with it. I don't really know much about it. Um, as the first line of this says here, it's like a coming of age Star Wars show that will take place in the New Republic era. So, you know, we're talking about Mando time slash, you know, the time before episode 7. So again, maybe kind of trying to fill the hole of that 30 years between episode 6 and 7. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about this show, but I'll watch it. You know, I'll review it after I see it. I'm not gonna let any bad press or anything like skew my opinion of it for now, but
Of
we'll
course.
see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, Bad Batch season 3. I have not been a fan of Bad Batch. I think the very first episode of Bad Batch was like really cool, and then the show started really deteriorating very quickly. And then it got to a point where I stopped watching it, but then I just watched Star Wars Theory break down the episodes. So it's like I'll watch Theory's videos, and it's like a fucking 8, 9, 10 minute video kind of explaining and breaking down the entire episode. And I was kind of happy with that, to just watch that and follow the story from his narration rather than actually sitting through the show, because it was kind of shit. And it was, you know, anyone who knows me knows I kind of feel the same about even the likes of the Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. It's like any of these shows that are revolving around the clones, I'm not really interested in it. I want more of the kind of like Jedi and Sith storylines rather than kind of following a bunch of clones around. So, to be honest, Bad Batch season 2, I don't even know if it ended well or what the story was. They kind of bring in some legacy Star Wars characters, and it's kind of like you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, because I think it's based before Episode 4, so it's in that like
Mhm.
kind of magical time between 3 and 4 where, you know, the kids are growing up on Tatooine and so on. And yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Andor season 2, I didn't have any really positive things to say about Andor season 1. There was like maybe 2 or 3 episodes I liked of that show out of the whole lot. I thought it was very slow. Wasn't really, didn't feel like Star Wars to me. I'll watch season 2, of course, just to see, because I think it's rumored to be better than the first season. They might just delve a bit deeper into um the kind of lore around, the building of the First Order and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Could be cool. Or sorry, no, this is I'm even confused now. Is this before Rogue One? So it's gonna obviously come to Rogue One at the very end. Um, sorry, I'm thinking of the other. I'm thinking of Mando at the moment. Sorry, I'm getting these shows mixed up in my fucking head. Sorry, this was between episode 3 and 4. So I would presume that this show is going to end with like the events that just happened before the movie Rogue One, because we know Andor dies at the end of Rogue One. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it is what it is. Shout out to my buddy Eric in the chat here. Eric is actually he's a friend of mine. He's an actor, and he was actually in Andor for a couple of episodes in season 1. And he's a dude we need to get him on the podcast at some point. What's up, bro? It's good to see you. We got to talk about getting you on here, and you can tell us all the deep dark secrets of Disney and so on. I'd love to have you on. But
Yeah, that'd be fun.
yeah, we'll do it in 2024 for sure, bro. If you're down, that is. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I have a kind of running joke with Eric, because he's been in a couple of like shows that I love and projects that I really fucking love, and I'm not saying it's his fault, but I kind of do joke and say it's his fault. But everything that he's in goes to shit. So it's like, he was like heavily involved in the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, and the show went to shit. Then Vikings is one that he was in a lot, and Vikings actually remained great until the end. So the trend didn't follow there. But what he was in Andor, fail in my opinion. He was in Ant-Man Quantumania, another fail in my opinion. Like, it's like, I always kind of joke with him, please, bro, don't go to the MCU, don't ruin it for me, please, please. And now sorry, yeah, he, as he says, he's going to be in Craven the Hunter, the movie as well. So I don't have high hopes for that movie anyway, but I think it's going to be great to see in the movies, obviously, as well. Like, it's fantastic. It breaks my immersion when I see a dude that I grew up with in these shows and movies and stuff. But I'm delighted that you're getting to do it all, bro. It's great. So yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. So yeah, I don't know. Can you even tell us this, Eric? Are you in Andor too, or no? Or I don't know. I don't really want to get you in trouble, NDAs and stuff. So maybe don't answer that. But
Yeah, don't
yeah,
don't don't worry
I'll,
about it.
I'll be chatting to you offline anyway. The Acolyte is a show that I'm very much more interested in than I am with like Skeleton Crew and Andor, because this one actually sets place before episode 1, when the galaxy is full of Jedi and Sith and so on, and I think the story seems quite interesting. So you can see here, it's like it takes place 100 years before episode 1. So it's like, there's going to be Jedi and Sith all over the place. And I think the story of the show, as far as I know, is there's a young, like, the main character that we follow around is I believe she has like a brother or a sister. One of them is very force sensitive, the other isn't, and they kind of, as you know, like when the Jedi kind of find force sensitive people, they kind of like claw them away from their families, and they never see their families again. You're supposed to abandon all love and all this sort of stuff. So I believe one of them goes down the light side, the other goes down the dark side, and we're gonna get to follow and see kind of like young Sith in training and stuff like that. And I
Mhm.
feel like it's kind of a part of Star Wars that we haven't really seen before. We've only kind of like really heard about it in legend and stuff. So it's going to be kind of nice to see that happening and see where we go. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm excited though. I am excited for that, and I think I was trying to find it, but there was a leak of the original trailer for it. Carrie Ann Moss is in it, and the trailer looked fucking brilliant. It looked really, really good. But now, for some reason, I can't find that trailer again. So I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to. I think I posted it in Discord at one point, but it was a kind of like one that was like filmed in a theater or something like that. I probably shouldn't have been on the internet, but it looked really, really good. So, to be honest, out of everything that we've just read in this list for 2024, The Acolyte is probably what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah,
What
that'll
about
be
you?
nice. That'll be a nice spin, considering that it's not going to be within any of the Skywalker saga like sections. I think that's a great idea because
Mm,
I'm kind of like over the legend of Skywalker. Like, I think it's done down to like a T. I think there's like very little that you can do to scrunch anything in between. So when they do like Andor season 2, it's like, well, I mean, I guess, but all these things in between that like we don't necessarily need, but they want to just kind of fill in the gaps. Like,
Yeah.
like, to me, that's fine. But like when I see the acolyte, I'm like, all right, that sounds awesome because now we're going into a perspective that we haven't seen in a very long time, not since the time of the video games where we saw like oh my god, was it Jedi Academy? No, not Jedi Academy.
Yeah,
What's
yeah, yeah.
no, it's Knights of the Old Republic, where
Oh
we
yeah,
see
sorry, you're going
like
way
we
back.
s- yeah, when we get to the point where like there's multiple Sith, there's multiple Jedi,
Yeah,
and you could essentially be one or the other, which I thought was a really good idea because like who wouldn't want to be one or the other?
yeah.
Being able to choose is one of the best things about like those games, which it fits so well. I don't remember if the Sith Academy did better.
That was
But
based in like Luke's Academy, so that was after Episode 6. So that's Legends. That's kind of that's kind of all been erased by Disney. So that doesn't really exist anymore.
mm,
That's all kind of
okay.
Legends now. But I loved those games growing up. The Jedi Outcast and stuff, and Outcast 2, where you're following Kyle Katarn, I think his name is,
Mhm.
and yeah, that was really cool. I loved all that stuff. Um, take it easy, Andre. Appreciate you hanging out, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think we've been talking about this for a long time as well. Like I think you're right. Like we need to get away from the Skywalkers, whether it's forwards or backwards. It doesn't really matter. I think
Mhm.
backwards would be more interesting because there's established story there already,
So
and
many
you can
legends to go
yeah
through.
you put like they've got the blueprints are there, so they could really dig deep. And for a lot of people who don't really know Star Wars, it'd be all brand new to them. So you know what I mean? Like you're kind of experiencing like all the like the old Republic legends, like the legendary Sith and stuff. You're experiencing that for the first time, so and it's
Well,
good. Whereas if
well
you go into
then,
the future, it's completely up in the air because
yeah,
they got to write it off from scratch, and it could be good, it could be fucking terrible. At
exactly.
least if they go back, they have blueprints, bro. That would be
Right.
my kind of takeaway on it. Like I'd be like, the IP's in shit right now. Let's fucking put out some good shit. So if they did a trilogy in the Old Republic about like what's his face? May, or what's his name? I can't even think of the Sith's name, the very famous one. Revan. So if they did like Revan, like a fan cast for Revan for a long time has been like Keanu Reeves to play Revan or something like, and it's like if they did that, it'd be fucking fire, and they'd release a trilogy that would be absolutely incredible. And then once you have the fans back in the palm of your hand, then go to the future and try and write something new. And if it flops again, then maybe it's like, okay, let's go back again. Like, because like I
Mhm.
think the Old Republic was set like 1,000 years before Episode 1. So like, you've got a long time to kind of play around in there. And then if they fuck it up, it's like, okay, well, let's go to the future. And if they fuck that up, it's like, okay, let's maybe take a step back to the Skywalkers for a little bit again. And hey, we're back. It's great. All the OGs like, oh, we're back. It's Luke again or whatever. And then it's like, then they could try again. But where
I
they are right
mean,
now, they desperately need a win.
right.
Desperately.
But I would say at this point now, though, like in terms of Skywalker and such, like unless you're gonna do like AI, CG, and all kinds of whatnot, like we're pretty much done with Luke. We're done with Han. We're done. We can't even do Leia anymore. Um, so like to go back to them is kind of weird.
Mhm.
In addition to like Ewan McGregor's getting older. So like, what do you like? You can't like. I really don't want to keep scrunching everything in there and like making it tighter and tighter and tighter until it like snaps because it's basically on its like to me it's on its last leg.
Mhm.
So just leave it alone. Like you have so many legends that you can do. You have so many things you could do in the past. You have so much more that you could do in the future. You can make your own. You can make your own stories. We can go to a completely different galaxy. It's like it's a long time ago in a galaxy far far away. Like it could be a different galaxy.
Mhm.
Be a different.
Yeah. Yeah. True. And like
It's
they've kind of like hinted at that now, obviously with Ahsoka, the series. Like, like they've gone to a different galaxy. So
Yeah.
it's
So
possible that they could potentially
it,
do that. Like, a lot of people are thinking maybe Filoni's looking to do some sort of a retcon or a shift of the story to a different universe, and then they have a completely blank slate and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
well, what I want is for them to like, if they really like Ahsoka, if they really want to continue Ahsoka, let's leave them like they've been left off at the planet, um, and they're pretty much stuck there for a time being. Why don't we just have them like deal with struggles on that planet and then eventually get off, and then they're like, well, we're in this different galaxy and there's distress signals coming here or something, like people are saying that there's like a war going on or something, like kind of expand based on the fact that like you have characters in a different galaxy now.
Yeah,
And I think that would be really cool because then you can have Ahsoka create her own legend,
true. Yeah,
which I think like and Sabine could be redeemed. Like I would love for that. I don't hate Sabine. I just wish she was done better. Like I think
yeah,
her character design is really cool. I think that, the fact that she didn't really embrace her Mandalorian kind of like aspects too well, like it kind of really pushed her hard into that Jedi aspect. It kind of like it felt like it was a little ruined on the fact that maybe they could have combined the two. And so like I think that's partially why I hated when, she would show up on the scene and things would like go a little bit awry and all that she could think of is like force powers. And like she just felt like she was worthless
mm,
at certain times, which is like, lady, you're part Mandalorian. Like you can totally kick ass. Like you have the know-how and the skills. You have like the Mandalorian combat skills. You have Jedi combat skills. Like you should be unstoppable.
yeah,
And so like I think that they could do something with that, but they would just like, in my opinion, they need better writers. They need someone who can create a completely different story for that aspect. And you have someone there to be your mentor, as well as like I know that we had the actor who played Balin, he passed away, but like, you know, change him out, give him a new, like change to a different actor, like expand on that. I think like isn't Shin Hati there still? Or did she go back to
she's
the throne?
no, I think she might be stuck on the planet as well. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm kind of blanking on the end of it there, but I think Ahsoka 2 is planned. I know Hayden Christensen has only said really recently as well that he wants to continue playing Anakin for as long as possible, which I think is great, especially if they're going to continue with this story for a little while. He's going to be there as a Force ghost, or potentially more flashbacks or something like that, which I think would be nice. I'd like that.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, man. Like, hey, what's
He's
thank you,
risen hard.
Rayfield.
Let's go.
I appreciate that. But I mean, like, yeah, like just make season two this whole situation between the two. Like, you have these characters who are basically like um Jedi who abandoned the ways and are trying to learn the ways of the Sith, and then you have another side that's like the Jedi. So like it's a cool concept. Like I think really just make it so that the planet is like at war because
Yeah.
of these two parties. Like one wants to conquer the world, one wants to conquer the area because like it's got, deep roots of like force powers and whatnot. I'm talking shit right now. I have absolutely no idea what that statue was at the very end of the episode. So if you have any idea, let me know.
It's the Mortis gods. So basically, there's the father, the son, and the daughter. They're like the embodiment of the Force.
Hmm.
The balance is the father, which was the big statue that you saw at the end. And then there's the son is the dark side, the daughter is the light side. In This is all explained in Rebels, in the,
Hmm.
the the animated series, and in the Clone Wars as well. But basically, the daughter dies and ends up giving her essence to Ahsoka, I believe, in the show. So Ahsoka basically is the light side. She's the embodiment of the light side of the Force, and then the son. The rumor was, or like the big like kind of theories as we were going through the show, was that the son was actually Anakin's Force ghost, and it wasn't really Anakin. It was actually the dark side. But then, basically, in Clone Wars, I believe that the father says to Anakin, "You are the chosen one. You are to take my place. You will be the balance in the Force." And that's the prophecy. The prophecy is that he brings balance to the Force. He becomes the new father. So that's kind of, I think, where it's going. Anakin himself will become the father. I think that's
Well, and
where it's
he
going.
well, and he did bring balance to the Force because
Exactly.
he destroyed the Jedi
Well,
Council, he destroyed the Temple, and he basically brought down the amount of Jedi and Sith to their equal parts.
I
And
think that was
so
originally how they wanted to do it, but and again, that doesn't like when George originally wrote the movies, it was like Anakin basically wipes out the Jedi and brings it down to 2v2 basically, and that's balanced because it's like Yoda and Obi-Wan pretty much versus him and the Palpatine, like Anakin or Vader and Palpatine. But then obviously the story starts expanding and it's like now there's Cal Kestis, there's fucking Ahsoka's around. Like, these people didn't exist before, but now they exist. And it's like, technically, that's not balance. You know what I mean? Like, there's
well,
all these Jedi hanging around, but like now there's no dark side users. Or if there is dark side users, we don't know who the fuck they are. So
exactly.
it,
So
it's not really balanced. But the way that they're telling the story now makes sense that if he is going to become a Mortis god, he is the actual force itself. And he is balance. He is the father. So that
well,
that is the prophecy fulfilled technically.
I get that, Finto, but like at the same time, it does make sense because if we're getting more Sith and more Jedi to pop up, that means that there's an increase in these two forces, and therefore it's being let. It's like they're letting it happen because they've already abolished the rule of two, considering that Darth Vader and Palpatine have already passed away. That was the last line of the rule of two. There's no more ruling of that. You don't need that anymore. There's not even an indication when you see the sequel trilogy. Like, yes, you have Kylo Ren, but he's only one character. They could even say that there's a rule of one, which I think that's the new thing now. Which it still was within balance because you saw that only one Jedi and one Sith essentially defeated Palpatine, which I still think is really dumb, but like it still made sense in my head of like I guess you want to continue this ruling, and so like it to me when Luke died, it essentially restored balance, which is horrible because like nobody wanted Luke to die in the first place. They should have just kept trying to increase the Jedi and Sith like population. But I think the idea as well was that they wanted to make it so that the balance between Jedi and Sith wasn't going to get too chaotic again, and that we didn't, they didn't have to hire more actors to fill more roles and to essentially like continue the line or the lineage of like all the shit going on. So like this was their way of kind of like trying to get rid of everything and restart from anew, which
Yeah,
like we've seen it before already. That's why it's so hard when you and I see the sequel trilogy that like we just don't care because we've already seen like a renewal with both
yeah,
the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy.
true.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, but hey, like writers, they do what they can with what they got.
Well, yeah, like the story just keeps expanding, and there's like all these characters now. And again, it's partially another reason why they need to move away from the Skywalker time because it's like you're kind of fucking with the original story when you keep just writing all these new characters that didn't exist in the beginning, but now they are in the background. Like, it just doesn't really make much sense.
Hmm.
Like, Cal Kestis being around between episodes 4 and 5. It's like, why wasn't Vader looking for him and trying to kill him? Like, it's like, I don't know. There's a lot going on, and then it's like now Ahsoka was around in that time, and there's all these like very powerful characters that are knocking around at the same time, and then the Inquisitors, which again wasn't created until like after George was done. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like it's very messy. Then when they keep adding and adding and adding to the original story that just wasn't meant to be, like it's like let's just if you want to add all these new characters, great, do so, but just do it outside of George's timeline where you're
Yeah,
not like impeaching the original story. Like, you're not like making the original story less valuable. That's
yeah,
that's that's my opinion on it.
yeah. But like you really like it's just like you were saying. Like every time things start to go sour, they just go back to this whole legend
I
and
know,
they
I
try
know.
to scrunch as much as they can in between. And I know that you're excited for it because it's like, yay, we get to see Anakin, we get to see Luke again, yay. But like in my head, it's like I'm done. I
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
I would love to see the council. Like, and
I
I
think
know
the
we
reason,
talked about this.
yeah, I think the reason why I get excited is just because I have such a sour taste in my mouth from Star Wars that I want like the stuff that we deserved to get but never got. And it's like that's why I kind of want to see a prime Luke, because it's like there's so many great legendary stories, and it's like you for me, like I've imagined seeing some of these in live action since I was a child, and it's like now you're kind of getting to see them a little bit with Dave and John and stuff, and I'm like I'm excited. That's why I'm excited for it. And then obviously getting to see more Anakin, I feel like I've always felt like more Hayden Christensen was never going to be a bad thing. Like I love Anakin Skywalker; he's probably my favorite character in Star Wars. So it's like if my favorite character in Star Wars is coming back, I'm obviously going to be on board no matter what they do. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of, my opinion of it is kind of skewed. Like I'm very much, it's biased because I'm such a big fan of these characters that I'll give them probably more leeway than they deserve. But I do, I
It's
do, I do agree that they need to just step away from this timeline altogether. But I'm not going to say no to more Hayden Christensen.
yeah, that's your buddy.
Yeah, exactly. He's my
Yeah,
man. I'm not going to say no.
exactly.
Um, yeah, I just want to go through one last list and then we're going to call it quits for the year. So this is just it's a comicbook.com thing, I think. Basically, it's top 10 anticipated movies for 2024. So there will be some stuff here that's probably not comic book related at all. If there's stuff that we've talked about already, I'm just going to skip it. But some of this stuff I didn't even hear. I haven't even heard about. So there's a Ghostbusters movie coming out. Didn't even know. I'm not a big Ghostbusters fan, to be honest. So I don't really have a lot to say about this one. I know Paul Rudd was in one of the movies there recently. I think with some of the kids from Stranger Things and shit. I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
yeah.
No real interest in watching it. I'm
It
sorry.
it's really like it's a nothing burger, dude. Like
Yeah.
they should have ended it at 2. I think that
Yeah.
like it was a fine time like timeline to just kind of be okay with. For them to reboot it, I think they did it in such a wrong way that people just aren't interested anymore. Like I like the Ghostbusters. I think it would have been cool to like the shows. Like, have you ever seen the animated series?
Yeah, like long time ago. Like I've
Yeah.
dipped in and out. But again, I wouldn't call myself a fan. So
Right. So, but
yeah.
well, at least it was fun, right? Like you watched a couple
Mm,
and you're like, yeah, that was
yeah.
okay. Like
Yeah.
it, but like with the way that they went with this, it just it makes it so that so many people don't care whether they're kids, whether they're like an all female cast. Like they really didn't establish anything. They just took what was already there and was like, you know, kind of like the what was it, Kathleen Turner?
Yeah, yeah. Like this
Okay.
this is one of those IPs where I kind of think like just leave the originals alone and let them just age and be great and be
And
classics. And
come up with original ideas.
yeah, exactly. Like, I think when you start bringing out loads and loads of Ghostbusters movies, you're kind of tarnishing the value of the originals nearly. It's greed. It's this is Hollywood, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like everything's a reboot or a remake or a sequel. You know what I mean? Like they're not really coming up with too many original concepts anymore. So it's a tough one. Like like how many? Like, there was 3 originally, right? It was like it was an original trilogy in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it
Not that I
was it only
remember.
2? It was only
Yeah, it was
2?
only the 2.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought automatically think trilogy with movies like this, but yeah, like the original 2 obviously, were legendary, and I think
Oh
they
yeah.
probably should have kept it at that. And just the animated show was great. Obviously, just maybe remake that. I don't know, but anyway, look, I don't really have anything else to say about it. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, I
What?
apologize, but I don't
What?
really know
No,
what to
just kidding.
say. Haven't even heard of this animated Lord of the Rings, so I don't know. It's not out till December 13th, 2024, so we've plenty of time to read up about it. But it looks like
Yeah.
it's an animated movie set around it's the untold story behind Helm's Deep, hundreds of
Yeah.
years before the Fatal War. So, okay, yeah, like I don't know. I'll watch this. I don't mind. I'm a massive fan of the original 3 movies. Wasn't a big fan of The Hobbit, as people know. We've talked about this on the cast before, but I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go.
It's because The Hobbit was just one book, and they
Yeah,
decided to stretch it out into 3 movies, like for some odd
bro. If it
reason, because
if
for the money.
if it looks like this, I'm down. Like this looks cool.
Well,
Like
yeah,
if
because
that's actual like animation style, like or whatever that they're going for. I haven't even seen any screenshots or stills of this. I have no idea what it's going to be about, but that looks cool as fuck.
It's partially in due to the fact that like we only know very little about these different like tribes that were employed by Sauron, which I think is like
Yeah,
really interesting if we're going to see this war pop up like 100 years before the events of the original trilogy.
yeah,
Um, I think that's going to be fun if they do show like that battle in that sense where like we do see the the giant elephants and like all the things that are going on. I
mhm,
would love to see that kind of like same style of costuming that they did in Return of the King. Which, by the way, while we're on this topic, today marks the anniversary of Return of the King.
yeah.
And we're actually in the middle of watching the third movie right now. Like as soon as we get off, we're probably going to finish it up.
Are
Um,
you doing extended?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 4
It,
hours, bro. It's crazy.
Dude, it works really well. I think a lot of the different scenes that they've added and they've like remanipulated just works so well in terms of like adding a little bit extra to the story and explaining things in a better light.
Hmm.
Like the whole situation between Gimli and Legolas when they're drinking together, and like Legolas is getting tingly at first because he's like, I've
Yeah,
never been drunk before.
yeah,
Gimli's fucking dead.
yeah,
Like at that point. But like
yeah,
I love stuff like that because it's like it adds a little bit of extra tone to the show, and um really brought to light like all the things that they really wanted to showcase, but because it would have been too long, everybody would have had like uh their butts would have been dead on the seats, and like they would
yeah,
have been tired, and so I
yeah.
totally understand.
Oh, like even theatrical cut of Return of the King, I found the last half an hour, 40 minutes just really dragged out, like because it's like, the ring was destroyed and they just kept fading to black and coming back, and you're just kind of like, oh my god, it's not over yet. Like what the fuck? Like I don't know, they had a lot of stuff to kind of tie up and all, and I understand that, but I'll never forget being in the cinema, like watching that with my uncle at the time, and I think I was maybe, geez, what year was that? 2003 or something, was it? Think it was 2003. But like I was young, like I was like just just like a very young teenager, like, and I remember like my uncle like just sitting there, Jesus Christ, like how I'm gonna be as old as this, like when you see Bilbo at the end, and he's like 150 or something. Like my uncle was just like he like yelled out like in the middle of the theater, "Jeez, I'm gonna be as old as this fuck when this movie ends," and everyone laughed and all, like, and I was just like, "Oh Jesus Christ," I was like embarrassed. And all. But yeah, like I can understand like
Yeah.
people's kind of frustration with it, like it did seem to drag out, and like I only last year, just before we moved into this house, um, myself and my girlfriend, we watched all three movies, the extended cut, so it was like 12 hours altogether. What a fucking experience! Like incredible, incredible. Um, Next on the list is this is like a prequel to Mad Max or something, isn't it? Furiosa. I have
Yeah.
no interest in watching this. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Chris Hemsworth is on the fucking cast list, though. Maybe that'll change my mind. I don't know. I don't think I'll see this one on the big screen. I'll wait for a kind of digital release of it, maybe, and watch it then. I didn't really mind the remake with Tom Hardy. I thought it was fine. It was
Well, a
okay.
lot of people praised it. They said it
Yeah,
was like just a really cool rendition of it. It wasn't like oh my god, like brand new kind of shit, but it was just a cool retelling of the original story.
yeah, yeah. Like the I wouldn't really call myself a fan of the originals either. Like I kind of I understand the appeal, but they've never really been for me. And
Mm.
like funny because again, I'm a massive like petrol head and stuff like that. Like, and obviously, you know, love like gore and all that sort of stuff. Like, so on paper these movies like should be some of my favorites, but for some reason they've never really clicked with me. So
Right.
I can't really talk about much about it. But the originals are not really fresh in my mind at all, but the Fury Road, like the Mad Max with Tom Hardy, I
Mhm.
remember enjoying it. I thought it was fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely remember enjoying it. So I don't really have. Do you have anything you want to add on that? Like, I don't really have anything I want to say on
No.
this movie.
No,
No.
no, no. I think we're good.
Moving on. Moving on. A Quiet Place explores the first terrifying day. I fucking love these movies. I am a massive, massive Quiet Place fan. I love the first film. I love John Krasinski. I love the fact that like I believe he wrote. I don't know if he wrote the first one. I know he directed and starred in the first one. Then he directed the second one, but he wasn't really in the movie because it was a prequel to the first one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I won't even talk about it if you haven't seen it. But A Quiet Place, the first two movies are fucking amazing. Um, I'm delighted that they're making a third one, and I'm down. I haven't really seen anything about this. I know, obviously, we kind of get a bit of a. If you've seen these movies, the first scene in the second movie is kind of day one, so we kind of get a glimpse into the first reaction of
Mhm.
when the aliens arrive. And then it kind of cuts to present time, which is after the first film.
Mhm.
So yeah, look, I can't really say much more. Like, I don't really want to ruin it if anyone hasn't seen
Oh
them,
yeah.
but they're
Um,
fucking great. And I can see John's actually listed here as a writer. So I gotta say, like, I'm a big Office fan. I love John Krasinski. I think he's a very funny guy, and just seeing shit like this just really blew my mind with actually how talented the dude is. And I know he's got a movie coming out. I don't know if it's going to be on this list. I haven't seen this list, but he has a movie coming out as well next year, I believe, called If. Imaginary Friends it stands for, and it's like a kind of kid movie, but like Ryan Reynolds is the main star in it and stuff like that, and like Steve Carell's doing voices, and Krasinski and his wife Emily Blunt is doing voices and stuff like that as well. So like I just love following this dude's career. Like, I'm a big fan of him, and I just love that he's like doing all like he does like the Jack Ryan show as well on Amazon and all. He's a very talented guy. I always thought he was just kind of like a comedic actor, but he does like a lot of serious shit as well. Like, so
yeah.
big props to Krasinski, and his wife in real life is his wife in these movies as well. And I love that kind of that dynamic as well. I think it's really cool. I think that's probably why there was such a push for the fan casting of him to be Reed Richards and her to be Sue Storm, because I think they're trying to kind of replicate this in the movie, in the cinematic kind of Marvel world as well, because they have such a great chemistry in these movies. That's
They
why
look
I think it would have worked. But
great
we all,
dynamic.
yeah, yeah, we're getting what we're getting, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm a big fan. Big fan. Dune Part Two. I was a fan of Dune Part One. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. I watched it on the big screen. I thought it was really cool. Um, I'm curious to see where it goes. I think the second one is probably going to be better. And like, take a look at this cast. Like Zendaya, Florence Pugh, Austin Butler's doing big work right now after his role as Elvis in that film, which I watched half of it and I actually fell asleep. I'm not gonna lie. I know Austin did a great job in that movie, but that movie was kind of boring, if I'm gonna
Mhm.
be honest. Christopher Walken as well. Like, I feel like he hasn't done anything in a while. But yeah, look, I'm excited to watch it. I saw the trailer on the big screen for the second for part two of Dune, and yeah, the trailer blew me away on the big screen. Looked fucking fantastic. Don't really have much else to say. I like Timothy Chalamet. I think he's really cool. I'm surprised he's not in the MCU yet. I know there was like some fan castings for him to play Harry Osborn, which I think would be pretty cool.
I think
Um,
it'd be a great Harry.
yeah, yeah. So I think if he does end up in the MCU, I would like to see him in that role. I think it'd be quite cool. I don't know if I'd like, because I feel like every time they try and do like the Hobgoblin and stuff, they always fail at it. So I think I'd like him to just stay as Harry.
Well,
I don't really want to see him become a villain, because I maybe
I,
maybe he would do it justice, but
well, like Harry, I don't recall Harry ever really being the Hobgoblin. I know he might have been at some point. I can't remember. I know that like for the most part he can be the Green Goblin. But I mean, he's just Harry. I think Norman usually keeps the role of the Green Goblin for a long time. Hobgoblin is a completely different named character. Like, and that was one of the coolest things when you saw in the comics. Like, there was the series where the Hobgoblin was like starting up, but the people didn't know that it was a Hobgoblin. It was mainly this idea that like, oh, the Green Goblin's back. And then they're like, what the fuck? And so they take a look further and investigating, and they're like, "Oh, he kind of uses the same technology as the Green Goblin, but he's kind of wearing a different costume. So, wonder who it is."
yeah,
And like, it turns out that it's not the Green Goblin at all. It's like this guy named the Hobgoblin, and he's also a different character. And he's like, he stole technology, and it's like it's so fucking cool because like it's someone who just wanted to play that act and become his own kind of character, but like with a different namesake, which I thought was really cool. So like I think that they should keep the two separate, like you said. If they do Harry as a Goblin character, they should do Green Goblin over Hobgoblin. Um,
yeah,
and just or just keep him Harry. I don't care. Like, just keep him Harry. Like, yeah, that'd be cool if he was just a supporting character.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting though, obviously with the events of No Way Home and stuff, and him getting to actually meet a Green Goblin and seeing how like evil like Norman Osborn can be. It would be very interesting if he went to college and one of the first people he bumps into, hi, I'm Harry Osborn. Like it'd be kind of like, oh shit, this is this dude's son. Like it kind of
Hmm.
creates stakes, I suppose, because
Well,
like
yeah,
you're
the
watching him
fear.
very, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I'd be excited for him to join the MCU. I think it's kind of strange that he hasn't yet. If I'm being honest,
Right.
it's kind of weird. Um, Venom 3, I'm kind of let's not talk about it again. We kind
Yeah,
of
we are.
spoke about it
Mhm.
already. Um, another Planet of
Apes.
the Apes.
I think it's done. I really think they should have just ended it a while
Yeah,
back. But I mean,
I
it's a movie that people are still like interested in. To be honest, like I know that you and I
yeah.
would probably be like, whatever, we don't care. But a lot of people, for some reason, really have this like fascination with the fact that like, what if a different race did take over? Like, what if
Mm,
apes, like a species, just took over the planet?
yeah. Like for me, I've never been a massive Planet of the Apes fan, but I think was the first of like the reboots. Was that the one that James Franco was in? Is that the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched that one and I liked it. I thought it was cool. Then I think the second one was the second one War of the Planet of the Apes or something like that. I can't
Uh,
remember. So again, I'm very patchy on where these movies kind of fall in a kind of timeline order or whatever. But I saw one of them. I remember myself and my girlfriend were traveling and we had like a bunch of time to kill one day, and we were doing like a day trip over to the UK, and we had like a bunch of time to kill, and we're like, oh, why don't we just like go to the cinema or something, like just rather than kind of walking around doing nothing. And I think it was the War of the Planet of the Apes was on, and we went to see it. And again, I don't really like, I wouldn't call myself a fan of this franchise or anything, but the movie was fucking cool. Like I thought it was really good.
mhm.
Again, I'm not like really pushed to go see these films or anything like that. But just by chance I saw that day and I really did enjoy it. So I can actually see here, look, prequel is War of the Planet of the Apes, and I think that's the last movie I watched. So this is obviously third in that list. So I think I will
That
watch this because
for
I've actually
for
seen the other
Kano?
two now. Yeah, I believe so.
No, this is the fourth iteration.
Oh shit. Okay, then maybe I saw the first one and the third one then, because I War of the Planet of the Apes I think was the one that I saw in the cinema that time. So maybe I missed the second one. Was
Mhm.
Franco in more than just the first one?
No, he.
Okay.
It's. I believe it's implied that he died from the virus.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. Again, I know really nothing about it. I'm going to do a bit of research on it actually, and I might kind of catch myself up because if there's four movies, I've seen two of them and I've enjoyed them. So I think it makes sense to watch the rest.
They're not bad. Like they're pretty fun, but like at the same time, it's like how much more are you gonna like milk this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like this is down the same path as like Godzilla and King Kong and all this shit. It's like
Dude,
there's just like so many iterations of all these movies. Like it's like, do we need more, or have we had enough? Like and I
for those, that's where I find the exception, dude. Because that's
right, okay,
that's a that's a fun, that's a campy thing. You could do whatever you want with that, and I'll still
yeah.
have a good time.
Well,
Like
like obviously you're not alone in that thought, obviously, because there's a lot of people that are still going to see these Godzilla movies, and the fact that they did like Godzilla versus Kang. I haven't seen any of these movies, but you know,
Godzilla
there's
versus
obviously
Kang.
or
Just kidding.
Kong.
I'm,
Sorry.
I'm just messing with you, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like there's a massive audience for all of these movies, obviously. So,
Yeah.
um,
I heard
yeah.
Godzilla minus one was like fantastic, and I really need to go see it.
Is that in the cinema right now? Is that like a
Yes,
brand
it's
new
in
one?
this. Yep,
Okay.
it's from what I understand, the premise is like, what if Godzilla was actually evil?
Oh, okay.
So because for the most part, Godzilla is just a kind of like a means of punishment like for it's a metaphor for like I think the atom bomb or the H
Mhm.
bomb. So
Okay.
like it's pretty cool. Like I think minus one was like that take of like, what if he actually caused destruction?
Yeah, yeah. I feel
So
like any time I see Godzilla, he is causing destruction no matter what. So, like, kind
yeah,
of
but for the most part, he's trying to fight different monsters because
fair.
yeah.
Yeah, have you seen the show, the Apple TV show?
Monarch, no, but I heard that it's like it started out kind of odd, but then it started ramping up to being a good show.
And where does that sit place? Is that like part of the movie universe in any way, or is it its own thing separate? I don't even know.
I don't know. It might be its own thing, but I know that it does involve like the different kaiju that we've seen in the past.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's something that I maybe need to read up on a bit more, or like maybe try and watch some of them. I did want to watch the Monarch show. Um, that might maybe entice me to maybe check out one or two of these movies. I just
Yeah.
I've no interest in watching them. I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk about Joker 2. We kind of spent a bit of time talking about it already. Holy shit! Karate Kid franchise returns to the big screen. What the hell?
Oh
I
my
didn't even
god.
I didn't even know this was coming. I am a massive fan of. I loved the original movie, maybe the second one as well when I was a kid. Never really saw the third one, but then I started watching Cobra Kai when it first came out. The first season of Cobra Kai on Netflix is fucking brilliant. Brilliant. Second season was really good too, and now it started to kind of go down, but I think they're about to air season 5 or something. So it's still going. The show's still
Mhm.
going, and it's like I loved the premise of the show when it first came out because it's like, the original actors, the guy like Ralph Macchio's in it, and what's his name? Zapka is in it, like the dude who played like Johnny Lawrence. And like it's like the original dudes in their 40s. It's like, what are they up to now? Like, I thought it was a really cool kind of throwback, and like the nostalgia was just through the roof with the first couple of seasons. But I don't know, it's kind of getting shit now. But I don't know. Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll check it out. I'm probably not going to pay money to go see this on the big screen, but I'll definitely
Mhm.
watch it when it gets released.
You know,
100%.
it's kind of sad because the movie with Jaden Smith, like that wasn't a bad movie. It's just the design and the naming of the movie was really bad. Like it should have been called the Kung Fu Kid because like literally it's like I will teach you kung fu, which is different from karate.
Yeah.
So like it's just it's kind of rough around the edges, but I really liked the one with Jaden Smith. It's not as good as like the original trilogy,
Yeah.
but like it
This
was
is
definitely a fun take.
this is Hollywood again, bro. Just like, let's reboot it. Let's kind of just grab as many Karate Kid franchise fans as we can and bring them to this new movie. Hopefully they like it. That's
Right.
exactly what they're doing. Like, so yeah, look, I'm a big fan of Cobra Kai. Check it out. You might not like it past it gets a bit corny in season 3, but I still like it, and I will continue to watch Cobra Kai as well. Number one on this list is Deadpool 3. We've kind of spoke about it already.
Yep.
Yeah, so um, man, like, I can't believe we're live nearly 2 hours. Like, I actually didn't think it was going to take us that long to go through all this stuff, but I hope we've just been informative for everybody who's listening to us or watching us. So, yeah, like, to be honest, there's actually quite a bit more content there for 2024 than I thought there would be. So, looks like we're going to have plenty of podcasts next year in 2024.
Well, and don't
Any
forget that we've got a couple things in 2023 that we're still like waiting on. We've got like
True.
not Marvel Zombies, but What
What
If
if?
season 2.
Yeah, so as I said at the start of the cast, maybe I said this when I was muted, but basically, this is the last cast of 2023. Next, we usually do these on the Sunday. Next Sunday, I believe, is Christmas Eve.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be able to do a podcast on Christmas Eve. And then the Sunday after, I believe, is New
Is
Year's
New
Eve.
Year's Eve.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting us to be sitting in doing a podcast on New Year's Eve. Like, so,
Well,
I think it's probably better to do the cast. Like, the first cast will be on the 7th maybe of January. Unless maybe we can talk offline, maybe we can try and arrange a different day. We might go live a little earlier and do a podcast a little earlier. But to be honest, it's probably better to let some stuff build up over the holiday season as well. Anyway, you know what I mean. And then we kind of have more to talk about when we return. So I'm down for whatever, but realistically, I probably won't see us until 24. To be honest,
okay.
we'll see. We'll see. Never know. You never know.
Yeah, just give me a heads up, buddy.
Yeah. Look, I've a bit of time coming off as well, so maybe we can make something work out on a different day, a different schedule or whatever. But
Dude, I'm taking from Christmas Day all the way until the 2nd of January off.
yeah,
So you let me know.
yeah. Like, I think I finish up on the 22nd. 22nd is my last day, which is a
I'm here.
Thursday. And then I'm not back until the 4th of January, I think.
You son of a bitch! You
Um,
took an extra day.
well, you see, it's my it's my daughter's first birthday on the 3rd, which is actually
Right. Oh my god, it's been almost a year already.
yeah. Jeez, I'm actually looking at the schedule here. Hang on. January. What am I looking at here? Oh, sorry, I was looking at February. That's why I was kind of confused there. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, like I was originally meant to be off until the 2nd, I believe, which is the Tuesday. But it's my daughter's birthday on the 3rd. So I said to myself, me and my missus were like, we'll just book it a bit of extra time off, you know, spend the day with her and, have a little party for her and so on.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm returning to work on the Thursday, the 4th. So um I honestly I don't really know. I kind of try to take a step back from socials and the content and stuff like that over the Christmas. So anyone who's been on my gaming streams for the last few years, I do kind of disappear for a little bit. Again, I have a family, so it's the holiday season. I'm not really sitting playing games on Twitch too as much, especially like I'll probably do a stream on the 23rd. And then that'll probably be my last gaming stream until maybe the 27th or something like that. Like I'll take those few days off just to be with the family and stuff. And then we have to do some traveling as well. So we do like Christmas Day in Dublin, and then we go like for the day after Christmas, which we call Stephen's Day, St. Stephen's Day. We do that in Galway, then on the other side of the country. So like there's a lot of traveling back and forth and so on. So yeah, look, maybe we'll return for a cast before the second week of January, but we might not. So I'm just giving everybody. I'm giving everybody a heads up. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, dude. Like again, I'll be talking to you offline and so on. So I'm not saying
Of
goodbye,
course.
but for anybody listening, if you don't hear us again until January, have a great Christmas. If you celebrate, have a great New Year's, and yeah, if you're new to the channel, all that sort of stuff, give us a like, drop a comment on the video. If you're listening to us on Twitch, thank you. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you. And yeah, we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye bye.